Most people treat people the way they want to be treated. Now, Dr. Tony Alessandra says that the platinum rule for relationship success is doing something different. And what's so special about Dr. Tony Alessandra is that he's a prolific author with 32 books translated into only 50 foreign language editions, including the best-selling The New Art of Managing People, Charisma, The Platinum Rule, Collaborative Selling, and Communicating at Work. He has a lot more accolades, but I'll let him say some of those. And so, Dr. Tony, please tell us about what is the secret to your success. Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu, mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services.
Well, I think it's constant self-improvement. When I was growing up, my mother had this saying. She always said, and she always called me Anthony, not Tony. She said, Anthony, always go the extra. Now, most people are thinking mile, but my mother always said, always go the extra inch. And what she meant was every day, in every way, in every aspect of your life, whether it was social, mental, physical, you name it, spiritual, to go an extra inch, to do one little extra thing, take one extra step, learn one extra word, give one more compliment, do one extra push-up, whatever it is, constant micro self-improvement. And, a couple of books that I read when I was young that had such an impact on me, and I really was into self-help, and I think part of it was, my mother telling me, always improve yourself, was Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Great book. And if your listeners have not read that book, go out and get it. It really is, to me, it was a life changer. The other was The Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. David Schwartz. It so happens that even though I read that book as a teenager and it had such an impact on me, when I eventually in, 1973, decided to go back and get my PhD, I went to Georgia State University in Atlanta, and it just so happened that my major prof, my dissertation chairman, was Dr. David Schwartz, the author of that book. I mean, it was just a life changer. So, I think that probably is the single most important thing, is constant self-improvement. Here I am, believe it or not, 77, constantly looking every day for ways to improve myself.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter what I've done. I constantly am looking for ways to do things better, etc.
Wow. So tell us about the platinum rule for relationship success. First of all, why platinum, not golden?
Well, the golden rule, as you said, was do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I believe in that rule. I do. 100% when it comes to values, ethics, honesty, consideration. There truly is not a better rule. But when it comes to one-to-one communication, this relationship success that we're talking about, if you practice the golden rule verbatim, in a world of increasing diversity, it can backfire because the way I want to be treated may not be the way you want to be treated. So the platinum rule is do unto others as they would have you do unto them. And I will tell you, Lily, that when I grew up in New York City and New Jersey, first 20-something years of my life, when I came out to California back in 1976, so it's been a long time I've been here, I practiced the golden rule. I treated the people in San Diego as if they were New Yorkers. Do you see a potential problem here? I came on too strong, too fast, too aggressive, too in your face. And even when I asked people to do things that under any other circumstance they would have willingly done, They dug in their heels, and it wasn't because of what I was asking. It was simply because of how. And I learned that what worked for me growing up in New York and New Jersey did not work in San Diego. So I had to adapt. I had to adjust. I had to tone down. And as I learned these tools and techniques, that's how the platinum rule came up. That, hey, you got to treat people differently. Earlier we were talking about that best-selling book years ago, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And the whole concept of that book was the platinum rule, how to treat people the way they wanted to be treated. So if men wanted to really understand and communicate more effectively with women, they had to learn, believe it or not, how to speak Venetian. Women had to learn how to speak and understand Martian. And that way they would get along better with each other. That was nothing more than the platinum rule. So.
Wow, that is fascinating. So tell us more about this rule. How did you come up with this rule? Why is it so important for you to promote this rule to the world? And what impact do you want to create with this rule around the world?
Yeah, so, for many, many years, I was a motivational speaker, and I spoke on the platinum rule all over the world. And it's a concept that people quickly understand, they quickly get, and they realize that it has a big impact on the way they deal with people, whether it's in a marriage, whether it's in a business dealing, with a manager and a direct report, whether it is, a student communicating with a teacher or a salesperson with a customer. You need to understand that what works for you might not work for them. In a world of increasing diversity, see, this golden rule was great when, for instance, everybody in Italy, they were Italian. Everybody in Germany, they were German. In France, they were French. Of course, in America, that's a melting pot of a whole bunch. But, as people started moving around the world, we had to cope with different people who came with different perspectives and different cultures. So you had to learn how to connect with those people. When I grew up in New York City, it was a melting pot of all kinds of cultures and races. And you needed to learn that for instance, in my Italian neighborhood, in my Italian household, the way we did things did not work in a Jewish household, a Puerto Rican household, an Irish household. It was very different. So you had to learn how to adapt to connect.
That's so interesting. So tell us about what impact you've already created around the world with this platinum rule, and how can entrepreneurs actually put it in practice? Give us some examples of how it actually works.
Okay, so in 1974, I was exposed to this concept of behavioral styles, 4 basic behavioral styles. And with the platinum rule, I called those styles director, thinker, relator, and socializer, 4 basic patterns. Over the years, I sort of adopted the DISC model, DISC, which stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness, 4 basic patterns, which were exactly the same as my platinum rule, director, thinker, relator, socializer. So the way this works is you need to be able to understand what somebody's style is, because, for instance, the D's and the I's in the DISC model, the D's and the I's are fast-paced. The S's and the C's are slower-paced. So if you are going too fast-paced, see, I'm a D. If I go too fast-paced when I'm dealing with an S or a C, it's going to fluster or frustrate them. If an S or a C is going too slow with a D or an I, hey, let's get on with this. Let's get to the point. So That's one thing you need to understand. How can I tell whether somebody's a D or an I versus an S or a C? The other thing is we want to understand the D's and the C's are more task oriented, get to the point, bottom line it, whereas the S's and the I's are more relationship oriented, and we need to determine which is which. So what I teach people, whether it was in my speeches, whether it was in my books, or whether it's in my assessment business, is basically how do you quickly and accurately identify a D from an I, from an S, from a C. And so that's what you need to do. So for instance, with the faster or slower paced, I want to determine whether they're faster or slower paced. I want to determine if they're more task oriented or they're more relationship oriented. Relationship oriented, they'll want to talk a little before getting down to business. The task people want to get down to business, and let's not deal with the relationship at this point. So you can pick up these little clues and behaviors if you know what you're looking for. And of course, in the Platinum Rule and in our DISC assessment, we teach people how to do that. I think one of the big ways we have done millions upon millions of assessments over. I mean, I put the first assessment online in 1996, so it's been almost 30 years, 29 years, and actually put it as a business. The assessment's 24/7 as a business in 2000, and so we help coaches with their customers, with their coaching business customers. We help businesses in terms of all of their employees learning how to get along better together and with their customers and vendors. So people take the DISC assessment. It takes maybe about 10 to 15 minutes. It's simply 24 questions where you have to, and there's 4 adjectives per question, and you have to pick which adjective best describes you of the 4 and which least describes you. And, sometimes it's not easy to say, well, geez, all 4 of these don't really apply, or all 4 of these really apply. But what's the most, what's the least? And you get back a report that is truly eye-shattering. I mean, it is, you look at this report and you say, how can I answer 24 questions and they know this much about me accurately? So the first part of the report is about you, and the second part of the report is how to use it with other people. So it really, it's great for salespeople because it teaches salespeople how to adjust their selling style to fit the customer's buying style. It's great for leaders, telling them how to manage the various direct reports that are under them. Great for parents in terms of how to deal with children. Here's an interesting thing, Lily. I have 4 kids, honest to goodness, a D, I, S, and C. So I have my own little learning laboratory. And I learned that you cannot treat each of these kids the same way. With my S style, if I just give the S style a dirty look, tears might well up. If I give the D style a dirty look, the D style laughs. That doesn't faze them at all. How they when they brought their report cards home, how I motivate them, how I compensate them. It's all different. So it really is important to understand how to identify and then effectively adapt and communicate with each of the 4 styles.
Thank you. Now, I want to give you a very practical example, okay? So, for example, I'm very competitive, and I'm an introvert, and I'm very task-oriented, okay? So, for example, if someone was to give me something to do, I would be like, even if I was in a team of 40 people, I would be looking, okay, how do I get everyone to kind of collaborate together to do this as fast as possible so we could win, okay? But, for example, my partner, he's very fun. So if he was there, he would be like talking to everyone and making sure, like, where are they from and what do you guys do? And, oh, you're from Cuba. Oh, you're my brother. And so it's like, I find that, for example, if we were there together, it would almost feel like I'm also friendly because he's there. It's almost like I feel like he's sort of like complimenting that part of me where I would be still friendly, but a little bit antisocial in the sense of, okay, I was given a task. We are going to finish first. We are going to be the winners.
Right, right.
And so, but what I find is that because we're both very creative, and even let's say, as we're speaking now, I could come up with 100 ideas for like what I'm doing in terms of, oh, I could do this book and I could do this other book and I could do this idea. And, so because I'm like just pumped with so many creative ideas, and of course, there's no time to do all of them, then I find that when I'm paired up with people who can actually implement my ideas, that's when we kind of like both grow together really quickly because he's also a creator. So I do wonder, in terms of, let's say, if you had a team like us, like Harry and I, how, and then, other people who are doers, and can implement those kind of tasks. I wonder how you would use this DISC assessment or other assessments that you have for business in order to make sure that we are producing in the right way and that you are communicating with us in the right way. Now, another thing is, for example, I'm a planner and Harry's more of a, oh, okay, I was given a task, so I'm just going to like do it and not really think about the consequences. So that drives me insane, because and of course I drive him insane. And the reason I drive him insane is because I want to plan and say, okay, this is how we're going to do things so that this is the most efficient way. And we're going to start on this tomorrow, because this is, we have to plan of who's going to do what and whatever. And of course, it depends on the time frame that we're given. But we drive each other crazy because he would want to like just, drive uphill and, just get it done. And by the time I will have started tomorrow, he will have, gone up and down 100 times and failed
Right.
like 50 times. But he doesn't care because, of course, it's like better to just like fail fast and get the result and or not. And he doesn't care about that. Whereas for me, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're even thinking of failing because, we have to like plan for this. So I wonder how you would kind of cope with this kind of insanity in your business, and
Yeah.
how would you make a team like us work better?
All right. So I'm going to go back to my assessment business. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and when, let's say you and Harry, that's your partner's name,
Yes.
you and Harry both take the DISC assessment. We can actually create what's called the combination report, where you each get an individual report, but we can actually do a combination report. And the combination report is just like your individual reports, but your content is on the left side of each page and his is on the right side of each page. And it gets into specifics of do's and don'ts of communication, how to motivate each other. And I think when you look at this and you both talk about it, where you see how you compare or don't, contrast, you'll see where some of the things he's doing are the exact opposite of what you're doing, and so on. That's if you have two people. Now, if you want to put a group of people together, we have what's called a team report or a group report. And what we do is in a circle, we plot the various people, let's say on a team, and you can see if you have a good blend of people. A good blend of people would be at least a D, I, S, and C on the team, or you will see where you're missing some. Let's just say that we have all D's and I's. Well, oh my gosh, D's and I's will move quickly. Like you said, they'll make a lot of mistakes. They brush it off. Just like Thomas Edison, I'll try it 1,000 times and eventually I'll get there. Whereas it would drive the S's and C's crazy, especially the C's, who are very analytical and detailed. They are incredible planners. We got to go one step at a time. We go A, B, C. You know, you know, that whole saying, ready, fire, aim. You know, your Harry is, you know, fire, you know, and that's it. There's no ready or aim. Whereas the C's are, you know, let's ready, aim, aim, aim. And you know, the D's are just, you know, fire, fire, fire. That's it. So
how does this work in a business, for example? You would look at first, okay, do we have DISC in every team? Because that would make it work. And if there is someone missing from that team, you would look at, okay, you actually need to hire one of the elements that is missing, because otherwise this team will not be optimized, right? That's one possibility. And let's say you have everyone, you know, like all the entire team is just D and just C, or for example, right? What you'll find is there is a massive deficiency in a certain area, and then you are looking at, okay, how could this work better? And then you would bring other people to kind of add to it. But wouldn't you also find that if you have all the elements, that it could be a little bit difficult to actually operate? Because let's say if you had two people that are like both about taking action immediately and getting stuff done, and kind of like they would be like going around the world whilst some of them are still thinking about what action to take. So what's your opinion there in terms of having balanced teams versus teams that actually are like quick fire and they get stuff done quickly?
Yeah, so it's important that when a team is put together, ideally, we would like to have at least one of each. There could be more of one style, but there should be one of each. And it's important that the team understands what the strengths and struggles of each of the team members are. That's the first thing. You know, what does each person bring to this team? You know, the C's. And maybe the person who put the team together says, okay, I want to, you know, let you guys know, you know, how the people in this room operate. The D's, they're going to want to push for closure as quickly as possible. They want data, but not a lot of data. The I's, they're going to come up with a lot of ideas, many of them unworkable, but some of them incredible. The C's, they want to analyze everything, and the C's can actually look at the ideas that the I's are coming up with and say, you know, here's why this won't work and here's why this might work. And the S's are looking for, all right, how does all this impact the rest of the employees, the company in general, our customers? They want to know how it impacts the people part of this. And they're sort of the glue, the S's, the glue that holds a team together. If people are arguing, the S wants to say, hey, you know, Lily, Harry, let's look at where both of you are right and can come to agreement on this. You know, they want to find solutions by bringing people together. I think it's important, Lily, that we understand, each team understands the strengths and struggles of each of the members of the team, what they do best, and where there is a weakness. Because where there is a weakness, there is another style. For instance, a weakness of the D's is listening. A strength of the S's is listening. The creativity of the I's may not be the strength of a C, but the C can look at all these creative ideas and determine which ones might work and which ones might not. You know, and I can go on, but really it's important for a team to work at its optimum level. They all need to know what they're bringing to this team, and understanding that, you know, if the D is trying to push for closure, not getting angry, but knowing that that's what they typically do. That's just them. I'm not going to get upset or whatever. I can bring it back and say, wait, before we do this, have we considered? That's what a C might say, you know, et cetera. So,
Thank you. In terms of having a team that has only fast action takers, isn't that a better team versus a team that is balanced, like the one that you mentioned? Because the balanced one is likely to be a little bit slower, and if not, could be many months slower, because the other parts of the team, they could actually need a lot more time to analyze all these different aspects of, how is this going to impact our team? How is this going to impact the employees? How these are the reasons why this could work, or these are the reasons why this could not work.
Yeah, so I think it depends on what it is they're trying to do. Okay, so if there is an ultra emergency where if it takes too long to solve the issue, it will have significant negative ramifications. Then we want a faster team. But if the accuracy of something is absolutely crucial, we're sending this rocket off to Mars. Do we have everything right? Speed might be a problem with that. Let's say we're planning a party. I want to make sure that I have more S's and I's. We have a customer service issue. I want to make sure that that the S is definitely represented. But if I need a fast decision, hey, we have an emergency, yes, fast pace is there. But it depends on the task. If the task requires specific accuracy, then slowing down is what we need, if there's no specific time urgency to it. So,
thank you. How does the platinum rule for communication impact the team in terms of how they prefer to be communicated?
Yeah, so, again, in your report, you have this whole page of do's and don'ts in terms of how to communicate with each style, what you should be doing, what you should not be doing. So, for instance, with a D, I'm a D. When my kids call me with a problem, one of my kids starts building up before they even get to the problem. I don't want you to build up. Just tell me what the issue is, and then let me ask questions. All right. The I may want to elaborate on something where a D is saying, I don't need the elaboration. Just give me the bottom line. That's all I want. If you jump into the bottom line too quickly with an S, they feel that you don't care about people. You need to understand the communication needs of each style. The D's, they want the bottom line. The I's, they want the interaction. The S's, they want communication, listening, sensitivity. The C's, they want data and documentation, step by step. Don't jump all the way to the end. I need to see how you build it up. See, the C's want you to build up. The D's want you to get to the end and then drill down if necessary. These are all things that you can learn when you get into either my Platinum Rule book or actually go through either the DISC assessment or the DISC certification. They're all, it's crucial to learn how to use all of these tools that you get when you get into the DISC model.
Thank you. Now, I prefer to speak in writing. Like, I prefer to actually write rather than to actually, have like a phone call, for example. And I find that most of my sales over my entire career were made by WhatsApp or by email. And well, sometimes also in person. In person, I think it's great. Okay. But over the phone, there's still something that I just dislike. So, and I find that, like me, I would say millions of people, if not everyone, everyone prefers to learn and communicate in a certain way, whether it's in writing, by phone call, in person, to feel, to experience whatever it is that they are seeing in front of them. And what I find is that, for example, for me, if I'm trying to make a phone call, it's a bit like writing with my left hand. It's uncomfortable because you have a preferred learning style and you have a non-preferred, learning and communication style, that yeah, you can use it, but it just feels uncomfortable. So how can entrepreneurs, first of all, kind of learn the idea that they're supposed to kind of like become comfortable with someone else's learning and communication style, which feels so uncomfortable? How can they learn that, and how can they actually make it happen? Because it's a little bit like writing with your left hand.
Yeah. And so like you like to write things down when you're communicating with people. Me, I'm a phone call. I want to get it. And part of it is because of my D style. I want things to happen quickly. If I write things out, I got to wait for a response. A phone call, I can get a quick response. So I think the D's and the I's may like the phone, and the C's and the S's may like to put it in writing. They want to back off a little. So, that's one way that we can determine whether somebody likes to talk or write. And even in writing, my D style, let's say you sent me an email, which you did, and talked about this whole thing. Would you like to be on our show? Would you, here's what it's about. And you go through this whole thing, and I answer back, yes. That's it. That's what a D would do. And a C would go into each of these areas and say, okay, how does this work? And, you mentioned about dress code. Should I do this or shouldn't I do that? And you go through all this. That's what a C might do. But there's also this whole concept of learning styles. You may have been, where you're either auditory, visual, or kinesthetic. Do I learn things best by watching it, or seeing it, by hearing it, or by experiencing it? That's the kinesthetic. Me, for me, I'm verbal out, visual in. I like to see things, all right? But I then verbalize out. I don't want to write it out. I want to verbalize it out. And I think it's important to understand when you're dealing with people, especially on an ongoing basis, what their preferences are. Now that I know yours is in writing, I'll write more to you. I will not call you.
Thank you. Now, what I find interesting is that how do you find that actually people knowing, let's say that I know that you like to have a phone call, do you find that people actually make an effort to accommodate your learning and communication style? Or do you actually find that most people will simply communicate in the way they prefer to be communicated? So for example, what I found is that people who are auditory, let's say maybe I will send them a WhatsApp message and they will be sending me a voice message, and I'll be sending in a WhatsApp message and they'll be sending me a voice message. And it can be very frustrating, but it's like, this is what we have to do, right? Just to cope and to accommodate other people's learning style.
Yeah, and see, there's the difference between the golden rule and the platinum rule. And you asked, if I'm correct here, you asked, are most people, do they prefer to communicate with others the way they communicate, the way they prefer? And the answer is yes. I mean, that's unfortunate. And that's one of our missions in our company, Assessments 24/7, is to show people that you can adapt, and you can, if your antenna is up and you are aware of, does this person prefer writing or verbal? Because I'm going to do it that way, even though I might not be comfortable with it. But what I might do is, here's an interesting perspective. Sometimes in order to reduce interpersonal tension, all right, where I'm verbally communicating with you, your written communication with me. So in order to avoid interpersonal tension, if I'm the one trying to influence you, I need to take on a little bit of that tension. So it's personal tension to reduce interpersonal tension. So basically, my personal tension is okay. Lily likes things in writing. I prefer verbal, but in order to get along better with her and to have a good relationship with her, I'm going to do things in writing, even though that's not my preferred style. And I think people need to understand this, that we are not the same. What works for me may not work for you. Just like when I moved from New York and Jersey over to San Diego, what worked for me there does not work for me here in San Diego. And by the way, when I go back to Jersey or New York, I have to adapt again. See, I'm lower key here in San Diego because that's what works. All right. You don't beep your horn in San Diego. It really irritates people. But in New York, you can lay on the horn. You can come across more assertive. Whereas you come across assertive initially in San Diego, it doesn't work.
Thank you. Now, your company has done millions of assessments worldwide.
Yes, millions.
Millions in different companies. So I wonder about what were your findings in terms of like the difference that the DISC assessment and other assessments you make for the company's employees. What difference does that create in terms of impact? Does it improve employee productivity? Does it help teams to communicate better? Does it have an impact in terms of company success and bottom line? What kind of impact have you noticed has happened in different companies as a result of them implementing these assessments in companies worldwide?
Okay. All of the above. All of the above. It helps internally employees communicate more effectively, better teamwork, better leadership, more effective selling skills and persuasion. I could take it even to, parents more effectively dealing with their children more effectively dealing with their teachers. It really is incredible. I have been doing this. I have been in this assessment business. In fact, November last month was 50 years, 50 years. And even today, when I talk about this concept, I still see people go, with their eyes wider open. Oh, that's why that problem came up. That's, that's why I irritate my wife or my husband or my employees or whatever. It just opens people's eyes, but they have to have the motivation to want to adapt. All right. Some people don't want to do it. Hey, my way or the highway. And they refuse to do it. Fine, if you get results that way, which maybe you do, but could you get better results by practicing the Platinum Rule, by being more adaptable, by adjusting your style to the other person's style? And the answer is absolutely yes. There are so many benefits to this. And I will tell you, we do our DISC assessment all over the world. Our DISC assessment is in 26 or 27 languages. And if you go to our website, which is assessments24x7.com, and look around, I believe one of the things that you will see, and if you don't see it, let me know and I'll show you the graph, where we have different, DISC, the percentages of people in the United States, in Germany, in Italy, in England, in Australia, in Asia. We have how the different DISC breaks down. It's not the same in every country. Some countries are more heavily skewed to I, others more heavily skewed to S or C. It's quite eye-opening. We have a lot of people, as I'm looking at all the people that you have been in touch with and communicated with and rubbed shoulders with. Some of our biggest customers who use our assessments are Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Brian Tracy, all use our assessments. Dale Carnegie worldwide. We have numerous, thousands upon thousands of customers around the world who use this because the DISC assessment is a game changer. It's a game changer personally in terms of how I can more effectively deal with other people. It is a game changer for businesses in terms of how they can improve their teamwork and their sales and their profitability. It's a game changer family-wise in terms of how people can communicate more effectively. It really is. For me to be involved in this 50 years, you know it's got to have some staying power. I tend to be, here's another thing about D's and I's, they are impatient people. I am impatient, there's no question about it. But even being as impatient as I am, how can I stay with something for 50 years? Because even after 50 years, I'm just stunned about how it impacts people and relationships.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.